Welcome to Porch Play Chats, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or shortened to IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. As part of our efforts to promote play, we've introduced Porch Play Chats, which are conversations with people who are just as passionate about play as we are. You can find all the Porch Play Chats if you go to our website at ipausa.org. Up in that top right-hand corner, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can be a friend on our Facebook page, and magically every Monday, a new Porch Play Chat will appear in your feed. I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm the president of IPA USA. With us on the porch today is Lisa Murphy, one of our board members. Good morning, Lisa, or afternoon.
I'm really on the porch. There's no hurricane today. Yay.
This is good news. She's had 2 in like 6 weeks. This is bad. And joining us today is Ellen Cogan. Ellen has been involved in ECE from her undergraduate days, many lifetimes ago. She's presented at conferences, she teaches child development, she consults to large and small programs, and she's the co-chair of the Westchester branch of NAEYC. She provides staff development and parenting workshops on the pyramid model, and she's an implementation planner to Early Head Start and the child care and the partnerships. And Ellen has a wonderful website at www.earlychildinfo.com. Did I get that right, Ellen?
You did.
Awesome. So today, Ellen's going to talk to us about joy and full engagement. Boy, is that not what we need in every classroom across the world? So talk to us a little bit more about what that means, Ellen.
Okay, so in the last couple of weeks, I have been fascinated by seeing little ones just do things spontaneously and have such joy that they either squealed with glee or just giggled to themselves or things like that. In one situation, I was looking at a video of my granddaughter, who at the time was just a little less than 18 months. And she had shoes on and she was out in the grass, and walking on the grass was not so familiar to her. So she was like stomping around and squealing with laughter. And she made like a big circle and she made another one, and she was just giggling to herself and going, yay, and stomping and stomping. And then she fell down. She just like sat on her bottom and looked around, and her mother, who was taking the video, went, but it didn't.
The mom noise.
I know.
She looked at her mother, and then she just got up and she started stomping again. And she stomped around and she made another circle. And then I guess she was finished, and she came over to her mother with this big grin and said, "Hi, Mama." And I thought the deliciousness of the pure joy of her doing something all by herself that nobody told her to do and nobody helped her with.
It wasn't circle week at preschool.
No.
Or the letter B.
Right. Or stomp day. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Pure child initiated
Joy.
And joy because of it. Yes.
And then last week we were in Florida, and I was waiting for my husband near a little park that had fountains where the water came up and then it came down, and it was like unpredictable. There were lots of kids playing in the fountain, and his dad came over with a little one who looked like maybe shy of a year and a half. And he's holding her hand and he guides her towards the fountain. And she starts playing with it when it's little, and it gets big. And she gets frightened and runs away. And then he tries to pull her into the fountain.
Oh, no.
And
because by golly, we paid $20 to experience this fountain.
Yeah. So after a while, she breaks loose of him and she just runs around, and he keeps guiding her back to the water. And finally, he has a break and he lets her play in the water a little bit. And she's still wary.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a while, I saw my husband and I was going to leave. And he starts over to his daughter with his hand out. And I said, the more you let her play by herself, the happier she'll be.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
And he looked at me like, who are you, old lady? And I smiled and waved. And maybe it will do something. I don't know. But
I think you're allowed to get away with stuff when, and I mean this with all the love in my heart, Ellen, when you get the gray hair, people listen to
Yeah.
you. You know what I'm saying? I'm
either
gonna say-
that or they don't bother arguing. They think,
Right,
this
right.
old lady, you know.
Either way, you get to say your piece.
So when we think about, you go into toddler rooms or infant rooms or preschool rooms and you see children doing
Being
the letter of the
murdered.
week or the number of the week in large group, or centers where they have to rotate every 10 minutes. It just hurts me. And we wonder why those children can't handle it. And there are so many different issues around what teachers would call misbehavior and what I would call bored children who aren't able to do what they're interested in doing. That, if we could just take a step back as educators, and I don't even like that term anymore. I got to figure out a different term because
Facilitator. We're a facilitator.
facilitators. Thank you. Facilitators, and just say our job is to have joy for those children, for them to be actively engaged in something they're interested in.
But I don't have to be the centerpiece of it. I think
But
that's
that's the other piece of the joy and the engagement.
Mhm,
And children are fully engaged.
mhm,
They're so absorbed. Athletes call it in the zone.
sure.
Mhm.
Or the flow, like flow.
Artists call it the flow. But they're not happy looking. They're involved. They're
mhm.
fully engaged. And if you look at the faces, they might grunt.
Mhm.
They might go, or they might uh-oh a few times because they're trying to do something together and it's not working. And sometimes people feel that they have to jump in and
Mhm.
help these children because they're just concentrating, their little faces are scrunched up.
Like, I think because we work with young children, there's often a feeling like it has to be happy, like at a circus, like it has to be big and boisterous and happy and nice and smiley, and realizing that you can still be experiencing a very positive, joyful place emotionally with it not looking like a three-ring circus. And I think that can be hard for people who are new to working with young children, who maybe don't have their own memory of seeing children in that engaged zone, right? And there doesn't need to be a lot of hoopda. I don't even know what the word I'm looking for. Like, there doesn't need to be like, they're still wanting to be there. We don't need to mess with it. Leave it alone.
Yeah, I think the whole piece of stepping back and watching before you intervene is the most important thing we can. It's almost like you have to hold your hands together to
Yeah, and
keep
why are
from
you even
jumping in.
intervening? Like, that's my question, is what are you doing? Who's it
Yeah.
for?
Yeah.
Sorry,
People
Ellen, we're
feel-
talking about what you're saying. And
No. Sometimes people feel they have to ask a key question.
Oh, God,
Like,
don't get me
what will
started
make
on
it move faster?
that.
You know, maybe
like,
you
but
don't
then you
want it to move faster.
then you
Maybe I
deprive the
just want it
child.
to move.
You deprive the child of the opportunity to come to that question their own self. And I think that's a crime.
It is. And the other thing that really frustrates me is they think they have to jump in and show them. Here, let me show you how that fits
the
together.
the showing
Oh.
turns me off altogether.
Oh my
But
goodness.
I
It's just,
know that
yeah.
after I learned to not show things to kids, I also would go over and ask a key question.
Mhm.
And then I realized much later on that that key question was key to me,
Mhm.
not to the child's learning. And the child needed to explore whatever aspects the child needed to explore.
Yes, you don't need to try to deepen it. Let it be. Let them ask the
But
question.
that's the if somebody comes in feeling too, right? That if somebody comes in, it looks like I'm earning my keep, that I'm actually doing what somebody thinks that I'm supposed to be doing, when really standing on the side, paying attention and observing and shutting up is 100% exactly what we need to be doing. And I don't think we teach in pre-service that enough.
Not enough. And I remember sharing something that you said, Lisa, a long time ago with my classes when I was still teaching on the college level. And you said, well, what do you say when the wolves come around? And now I know to give them ammunition. When the wolves come around, you cite the concepts that the child is learning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you shut up.
Yeah.
And so you say very quietly to them, look, she's putting this block on much more purposefully than she did yesterday,
Mhm.
because she's beginning to learn the concept that a smaller one on top of a larger one is more effective than a larger one on top of a smaller one.
And the wolf is like, shut up.
Exactly. And their whole idea is, how did you get that from that?
What is really interesting, we did, what are those things called? We used to do them all the time. They were like, you took, like, we did county commissioners, or you took DHS staff, or you took, and you went on a day and you took
That
them.
used to be May 1st, Worthy Wage Day, if
Worthy
I
Wage
remember
Day.
correctly.
But there was also one that they were called, I can't remember what they were called, but we did several of them in Colorado. One of them was we put county commissioners on a Head Start bus.
Whoa.
And because everything in Colorado was local control. So we put 8 county commissioners on a Head Start bus, and we took them to
Like the beginning of the show.
high quality early care and education programs. And I remember we walked into a facility, and one of the county, we were looking at infants, and infants were on the floor, and they were smiling, and they were cooing, and they were looking at each other. And I stood right there by them, and I said, this is the beginning of social engagement. They are recognizing that there's someone else. They're curious about what that someone else is. They're babbling, which is the beginning of language development. This is all of the things that they need. And the reason why they're able to do this is because they're not in a contraption that prevents them from moving, like exercisers or swings or a playpen. They're able to be on the floor with each other and touch each other and listen to each other and socially engage. And the county commissioners were like, well, why do these other programs have all this stuff in them? And I said, because they don't know what is happening when they do that. And then we would go to the preschool classroom, and they would follow along, and I kind of get in the middle of them. They would go, and I'd say, look at the engagement on children's faces. They're concentrating. They're being persistent when something falls down and blocks. They're building all of those foundations that they'll need in order to be able to have an attention span when they get to kindergarten or first or second grade. And they were like, oh my God.
I know their draws.
I know, they go, oh, you can see that just from where? I said, yes, because that's what child development tells us. And it was an aha moment for them. And I think the saddest part to me was one of the county commissioners, who was a person of color, came up to me, which is unusual in Colorado Springs, by the way, came up to me because he said, are any of these children on low-income childcare? And I said, yes. And I talked to the director, and she said about 30% of their children were on low-income childcare. And he said, do the teachers know? And I said, Well, they really don't have any reason to know. If the child's on a food program, then they have to, count that child in order to be reimbursed for the food. But no, the director knows. And he said, so they don't treat those children any differently? And I said,
Oh,
why? They're
geez. Yeah.
children. Why would they do that? And he said, it worries me. And I said, okay, so let's talk about the difference in the tuition between what a child not on child care assistance gets and what a child on child care assistance gets for this facility. And he was like, well, that's not fair. And I said, it's not fair. And I said, do you want all children who are eligible for low-income child care assistance to be in a place like this? And he said, yes. I said, then you need to raise those rates. And
that kind of advocacy,
Mhm.
I think I need to not say that because that might not be true. I'm not sure if we're as in their face as we used to be. I remember when I was a young pup in this profession, there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on to try to get people to actually see that it's more than just finger painting and, whatever. And I don't know if we do that. Did we?
I don't think we do.
I don't know if we do that as much as we should be.
I wish I could remember what the name of that, because it was a national effort. And
Was it
we did it
the
twice a year. And it wasn't worthy wage.
was
I've got the flyer somewhere.
I know we're all like, this is not good podcast when we're all sitting here
not.
thinking about
What
that.
What the heck name was it?
Okay.
But it was very effective, and we need to get back to doing more of it.
Was it the Edelman? Was it
Oh, I'm sure it was Marion Wright Edelman. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was something that she came up with, because
Okay.
it was it was a powerful way. And we took different constituencies, right? So we would take public school teachers and said, this isn't, we're not getting them ready for you, we're getting them ready for life. Right? And they would go, oh, you mean we should be doing more of this in our, yes, you should be doing child initiated play and having opportunities for children to
But
engage.
you know what? And this is probably a actually, and Ellen, you probably are going to be able to speak to this. Elizabeth Jones said, and I'm grossly paraphrasing, she said that in the early mid 90s, we did such a good job at convincing people that what we did was important, that we accidentally gave our power up. And now we've been struggling since then, because now all the decisions are being made by other people, not all of them, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if this, like Dosia, remember Dosia said it's not getting the kids ready for kindergarten, it's getting kindergarten ready for the kids. Bev was a huge vocal advocate during this time frame too. And I'm just wondering if, to some degree, what Elizabeth said is what happened.
Yes.
And that's why we don't do that stuff anymore, because maybe now we feel to some degree powerless and feel like other people are making the decisions. Yeah, I don't know. That's a half-baked thought.
I went to Washington with No Child Left Behind, when Marion Wright Edelman and all these bazillion people wanted funding for early childhood programs. And then it was corrupted by the government that took over and copyrighted the No Child Left Behind.
Oh God,
yeah, I remember that.
And destroyed it.
Yep.
And
Totally hijacked that phrase.
made early childhood academic, which is not what it was supposed to be.
Right.
It was supposed to give children who are of low income the opportunities that the higher income kids had.
Yes. And it destroyed.
And they changed the funding streams, and created block grants. So all of a sudden, a child care program was up against a bridge. And which was more important? You're not supposed to choose between a bridge and children.
Yes.
You're supposed to build a bridge to make life safe for the people who'll go over it. And you were supposed to educate young children. It's not either or, but it comes to either or in the funding streams.
So when we get back to creating this joy and engagement in the classroom, I think the expectations for teachers need to recognize that they have to help parents understand what is happening developmentally. They have to help families
This is
understand.
the biggest problem.
Yes.
Because plenty of other things are very readily shared, but appropriate milestones are not.
Yeah.
They're so easily available.
Mm-hmm.
They're on PBS Kids, they're on the CDC website, they're on most teaching
0 to 3.
hospitals have websites that have developmental milestones. And if you look at those developmental milestones for any given age, you will find that the expectations of many parents and many teachers are far different than what children can really actually do.
Yes. Yes.
And I think a lot of times the practice that we see and cringe is because they're working within that, right? They're working within that, the difference between what a child can actually do versus where they think that
what they want them to do.
What they want them to be doing. And so then the adult gets frustrated when really the adult education piece is what is, right? The kid doesn't need a timeout or any kind of punishment or any kind of discipline. The adult needs to be, you know, schooled as to where the disconnect is between what the kid can do and what they're thinking that kid could do or should do.
Which creates a lack of joy in the classroom.
100%.
Because they feel like they have to do this to get them ready. Please stop the ready conversation. So we don't need to get them ready.
I was a consultant to a program and a teacher left to get a better paying job. And they got somebody who had taught in 2nd or 3rd grade to work with 2-year-olds.
Yeah, that doesn't always work.
And the director said to me, as soon as I walked in, "Oh, Ellen, we need you. Go in this classroom and help this lady." So I went in the classroom and I stood in the back. I introduced myself and I stood in the back. And I watched her struggle trying to get the kids to all sit. And then I said, the director sent somebody in to work with the kids so that she could come out and talk to me. And she said, they won't sit still and they won't listen and they won't blah, 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 blah. And I said, they can't.
Yeah.
She looked at me, what? I said, they're 2. I said, ask, and by name, the director, for a milestone list for 2-year-olds. Because you came from the elementary school and you're used to children sitting and these can't.
Yeah.
And you don't have to make them sit.
Right.
I don't. I said, no, it's not your job to make them be small 7-year-olds.
Yes.
They're 2-year-olds. And it's your job to let them be 2-year-olds.
So look at the permission you were granting her.
Relieved.
Yeah.
She is so relieved.
Yeah.
I don't have to this. I don't have to. I said, no.
And now she's going to increase her confidence, right? It's not that I'm a bad teacher. It's that I was applying the only tools I had in my tool belt that maybe were effective with 7-year-olds, but surely it's not going to be effective with a 2-year-old.
So Ellen, I think you've hit on the big thing, teachers.
And then
educators, facilitators.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that brings us, you know, full circle to joy and engagement.
Yes.
The kids are engaged with things that they choose. The adults can have joy looking at the children being engaged and not have to worry about teaching them something.
Right. And realizing that that's enough, that the joy is enough and the play is enough.
And then when the kid finally gets whatever they were trying to do, even though we had no clue what they were trying to do, they will let us know.
Yes.
They will say, I did it, or look, or ee, or something to let us know that now they have the joy. They worked and worked and were serious and serious. And now they have the joy.
And so I think the other thing, Ellen, that you've done that's been so well is the happy. Joy does not mean always looking like you're happy.
Yeah,
Right?
that's important.
Yes, that's a
It's
big one.
the joy of figuring something out. It's the joy of being able to be successful in getting these two pieces to go together in the way that you wanted them to. It's not a happy, smiley joy all the time, and we should let it be.
There's one little piece I forgot,
Okay.
and that is when when children are really engaged in something and they lose track of time and they lose track of everything because they're in the zone or the flow or the whatever.
Mhm.
And a teacher says, clean up,
Oh, God.
or now you have to move to another center.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
I wrote
just-
a whole chapter on that.
I know,
The joy disappears.
they just lose it. And where's the joy?
Yeah.
And then why should I get so involved the next time if they're going to screw it up?
Exactly.
Which is the other piece that, teachers need to remember. It's about RESPECT,
Yes.
protecting the engagement and the joy of the child.
And not worrying about the clock. We just got to, I wish we'd just take the clock off the wall, because you don't need it. You just need to follow the children's lead.
Right.
And
They'll
it
get
doesn't matter
bored.
how old they are. It doesn't matter. Okay, Ellen, well, of course, this has been wonderful. And I think the important lessons for teachers have been covered in staying, watching, observing closely, trying not to interfere. Don't show them how to do it. Allow them the opportunity to engage and initiate and experience their own interest. You don't have to herd them like cats. And that's not possible anyway. Trust me, I have 4 cats. So you can't herd them. So Ellen, thank you so much. Stay right there while I close this out. To learn more about Porch Play Chats and IPA USA, be sure to go to our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, keep on playing.
Bye.
Thank you.